Part of my mom's orientation for her stem cell transplant involved attending a luncheon with participants who had had a stem cell transplant in the past. And in our particular luncheon, there was actually only one other person, Georgia, who's mentioned in the book, who was going to be starting a stem cell transplant just like my mom. Everyone else happened to have had a stem cell transplant previously. And all of them had had an allogeneic stem cell transplant, whereas my mom was having an autologous stem cell transplant. And that is the same stem cell transplant that I would later have when I went through cancer treatment. The difference is that an autologous stem cell transplant infuses your own stem cells, which are harvested in the lead up to your stem cell transplant. An allogeneic stem cell transplant involves the infusion of donor stem cells. So prior to the stem cell transplant, there is a thorough donor matching process that actually can take quite a while because stem cells are not like blood cells. It's very difficult to find a match. And oftentimes they will be matched from individuals across the world. And then those individuals have to go through the process of harvesting their stem cells. And then that is transported to wherever the individual is receiving the allogeneic stem cell transplant. Allogeneic stem cell transplants often have much more extreme side effects due to something called graft versus host disease, which happens when the body rejects the cells that, even though they were identified as a match, they are seen by the body as foreign. So your body's immune system starts fighting against the cells that have been infused, and it can produce some really devastating side effects. As you see in the book, we all go around the room and we all share our experience. For us caregivers, we talked about being there for our loved ones. For my mom and Georgia, they talked about their treatments leading into the stem cell transplant. And then everyone else who had had a stem cell transplant previously talked about their time going through the treatment and then the side effects that came after, and then how they were doing at that moment in time. Since most of the participants had had an allogeneic stem cell transplant, we ended up hearing quite a few horror stories. I didn't include them in the book because my mom was having an autologous stem cell transplant. So I thought I would share some of the things that we heard during that luncheon and how they made us much more appreciative about the fact that we were going through an autologous stem cell transplant instead of an allogeneic stem cell transplant. One really common symptom of graft versus host disease is that your skin gets really brittle. We heard that multiple times from the various participants who had had an allogeneic stem cell transplant. One woman's story, though, was particularly extreme. After she had been discharged from the hospital, she had woken up in the middle of the night to the feeling that she was being stabbed repeatedly in the face, but no one was there. So in a panic, she rushes to the bathroom, she flips on the light switch, and her face, due to the brittleness, had just fissured in several different places and was pouring down blood. And she said, it was like I was watching a horror film, but it was my real life. Thankfully, she had overcome those symptoms. She did say that she still had to moisturize more frequently than she did prior to her stem cell transplant, but she wasn't waking up in the middle of the night with a fissured face that's bleeding. When you hear stories like that, you can't help but think about the lengths to which individuals who have cancer are willing to go in hopes of attaining a permanent remission, which thankfully she had achieved. All the individuals who attended the luncheon who had had an allogeneic stem cell transplant were in remission at the time. However, the individual to the left of my Aunt Linda had a particularly difficult time getting to that remission. He had gone through 4 allogeneic stem cell transplants before he achieved a permanent remission. And after the toll that my stem cell transplant took on me physically and mentally, I cannot fathom doing 4 stem cell transplants, much less 4 allogeneic stem cell transplants. When I witnessed that man's appearance, which had been so clearly impacted by repeated exposure to high-dose chemotherapy, I couldn't help but think about all of the media I had consumed up until that point about individuals who had had cancer and who had gone through cancer treatment, and how I had never seen an individual like him. And I don't think that bringing this up will change how traditional media companies reflect the cancer story and the cancer narrative and individuals who have gone through cancer treatment and attained remission. However, I did want to post a picture of myself when I was in the middle of my stem cell transplant hospitalization, just to kind of demonstrate the contrast between who I am right now and who you are seeing with the individual I was at that time during the stem cell transplant. You can see how hollow my face is and how sunken in my eyes are, and how my skin tone is patchy and how my under eyes are dark. and my hair is clearly falling out. I was shedding so much, and even the slightest movements on my pillow would result in a trail of hair being left behind. So shortly after this picture, I just buzzed it all off. It is important to understand that the media representations of individuals who have gone through cancer treatment or individuals like myself who are putting out content are those that are typically ones who come unscathed from their cancer treatment. And there's many, many people who do not share that same reality. But I wanted to share about meeting that man because the impact that his stem cell transplants had on him really stayed in the back of my mind as I was a primary caregiver for my mom during her stem cell transplant. Tomorrow, July 10th, I'll be sharing a video about how you can become desensitized to certain medical procedures during cancer treatment and sharing about some of the ones that I actually found enjoyable. So hit subscribe, leave any questions in the comments. The link to the book is in the description, and I will see you all tomorrow.